Everybody else?
MAT, you said.
Number two. Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Yeah, hi. George Latimer, County Executive. I'm on the telephone listening in.
okay. Very
Hello,
good.
George. Tony Gonsalves here. How are you?
Hey, Tony. How are you?
Good. Very good.
Thought I'd learn a little bit by listening in for a few minutes.
There's a delay.
Quite a.
Yeah, a little bit of delay.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us, George.
Thank you.
We're having some audio problems, so hang in there.
I'm logged into Zoom, turn off their microphone.
Is it also broadcast on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Sounds like it's gotta be.
Oh.
It's annoying.
Testing.
Gotta mute that. I think that's what it is. I gotta mute YouTube. I always remember.
Oh,
It's from the procedure, it's like after the fact. So mute YouTube. Hopefully hear, but at least we only hear us and not the YouTube feed.
right. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. So every time, and I gotta go off the YouTube because it's delayed by a few seconds. The wonders of technology. Okay, so I guess I'll officially call us to order for the May 16th Antenna Advisory Board meeting. We have Lynn Gainey is participating remotely, but otherwise we have everybody here, which is great. We have an agenda of some of the usual topics, including the review of the minutes from our last meeting on February 7th. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review those. And then our existing business, an update on the South Salem cell tower, principally any new news on the South Salem Presbyterian Church steeple location as an alternative to Salt Dome. And any thoughts around the Cityscape Wireless Infrastructure Study Project. Tony and I were talking earlier how today is the deadline to make comments. So if you haven't had a chance to review that, maybe spend a little bit of time on that if we get to it. But if you had any comments, this is the last day to do that. Any update on the emergency services stuff from you, Brian? And then optimum fiber to the home. I think we've all seen the fiber rolls going up on utility poles everywhere around town. So that's interesting. I did want to move up this new business item. We learned, I guess, I can't remember, it was last week, I guess, that there is a interest, I think, by Verizon to move off the current Leon Levy Tower in the Leon Levy Preserve and develop a new tower in the vicinity. And Aerosmith Development is, I guess, in charge of that process.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go
Chris
ahead.
Thompson from Aerosmith regarding the tower. He lost internet connection and he's waiting to be let back in.
Okay.
So
So that's good. So we have a representative from Aerosmith here to talk to that. So I propose that once we approve the minutes that we move that up on the agenda. So we take advantage of our special guest. Let me.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, second.
all in favor?
All in favor?
All right.
Lynn, if you agree, raise your hand.
I agree.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, so it looks like Christopher Thompson is back in. Christopher, can you hear us?
He's connecting to audio.
Okay.
The fact that he lost internet is not, it's not bull.
Is he in town? Is he in
Well, it
town?
wasn't on our side, so that's a good thing.
And and I forgot to pull up the maps. Did you find those?
I do.
Okay, maybe
So-
Christopher has those as well.
Yeah, let's see if he's on.
Christopher, are you on yet?
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that. My internet cut out.
No problem. Hope he doesn't do that again. So welcome and thanks for joining us. Maybe you could give a little bit more background. We've talked about in the past the tower at the Leon Levy Preserve and how it isn't really a tower built for cellular coverage. I think if memory serves, it was an old microwave
It's a lattice
lattice tower for old long distance AT&T long distance. And so I guess our understanding is that you're working with Verizon, is that correct? To look at alternate sites to move their equipment off of that tower onto a new tower.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep, exactly. So Tillman Infrastructure would actually be the owner of the tower, who were trying to lease that small 100 by 100 plot of land for, and then they from there would lease space on the tower out to Verizon, who would be the anchor tenant in this project, and then from there, hopefully get some more carriers on there.
Right. And is it your understanding that the other carriers would likely follow, or is that too soon to?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, ideally that would be the case, but for as far as the site act portion of this, that would kind of be out of our hands at that point. I'm the site acquisition specialist for this, and once we get the tower through zoning, if it comes to that, hand it off to construction or the company who would actually be building the tower, and then from there it's kind of out of our hands.
You guys would build a tower regardless of what the other carriers were not coming in?
Yeah, so we have Verizon is the anchor tenant. So as of right now, we'd build it and Verizon would be the first and the only kind of carrier on there as far as what we have to do.
And what's the location? This is to replace the existing tower that's in the Levy Preserve, or you're looking at a new location within the site in addition to the tower that's already there?
That would be in addition to the tower that I believe it's American Tower owns that small
Yes,
chunk of land. It's not, they don't actually lease that land, they actually own that small parcel. So it'd be in addition to that.
On that same parcel?
No,
Or
no, no,
different-
it would be, we have.
Maybe at this point we should bring this up, if you don't mind, Christopher. I do, like, Tony, I think has it on his laptop. If you've got it ready.
Or if you have it ready to
Yeah, if
come
you
in,
got it ready, we could
Sure.
we could turn over a screen share to you and have you display it, whatever worked best for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can certainly screen share. How do I actually haven't used Zoom in so long? We use Teams. How do I actually?
So I just made you a co-host, and then so at the bottom of the screen there's a green up button that says share screen.
Oh yeah. I don't know why I didn't see that. Gotcha. So let me know if you can see. It should be Google Earth, basically, or Google Earth Pro.
Yeah, we
Yes,
see it.
there
we
you
see it.
go.
Yeah. So here is the existing tower. Here is the red circle. Here is the search ring that was issued to us. I believe it's half a mile or maybe a little less. That is issued to us from Tillman Infrastructure. And then from there, we basically kind of scour the area and find possible candidates. And ideally, sorry, what was that?
Chris, sorry to interrupt. So that half-mile circle is the preferred location, right, within that circle?
Exactly, yeah. So ideally, we would like to be in this circle. If there aren't really any suitable candidates inside the circle, or people aren't interested in whatever reason, we can move outside. But ideally, yes, we'd like to be in this red circle.
And have you proceeded to find locations within that circle?
So it's mostly, I mean, down here, it's a kind of smaller residential parcels, some wetlands, so a lot of these won't work, but it's most of the circle is town-owned land. There is this big parcel that, first, like, we use this thing called Parlay, which gives us kind of some basic information on the parcel, and for some reason, this one doesn't give me the owner. I'm not sure if this is town-owned land, this big kind of weird shaped parcel. But this is town-owned land, which I have a marker for kind of a potential area. It's not like finalized or anything, obviously. It's just kind of an initial.
That sort of, is that like an elevated area? Because the other knock on the existing tower that we've heard is it's sort of in a depression, which compounds the issues with its ability to provide coverage to the surrounding areas.
Yep, exactly. So ideally, we were from the RF engineers were given the red, which is, I'm sure you know, like the center line of the antennas and what basically the RF engineers need the new antennas to be at. So for this site, it's at 125, which I'm pretty sure it's basically just the existing height of the antennas on the existing tower here. So if it drops in elevation at all, we're gonna have to add height to the tower. And with this site, it drops, sure if it kind of translates over, but there's basically a big hill, here. So if we don't stick with this site right here that I've labeled, it drops off severely, and we're gonna have to add a lot of height to that tower.
So if it goes there, it's what height of a tower?
It's
You
not
want me
gonna
to
go
think?
there. I can tell you there. That's
Oh.
a park. That's the
Levy
Leon Levy
Preserve.
Preserve. It's a town park, and I don't think that the ruins of the.
Black Mansion.
Oh, is that what that is?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
That's not going there.
Mansion.
I can tell you now.
So Chris, you had about 5
That's a good
different
point.
parcels that are under consideration, right?
Yep, yeah, so this was,
That was one.
I think I did see that it was a park, and we kind of just still went after it because it's inside the ring and
Now I know
there's
exactly
already,
what it is.
there's already a
Yep.
tower on it, so we thought that might be a possibility, but there are,
The tower predated the park, that's why.
yeah, I assume so. I'll take off this one. I have, this one is just question mark. That's this parcel I just talked about. And I'll turn on all of them and see what comes up. This one obviously kind of a stretch because the wetlands wouldn't meet setbacks. So we'd have to apply for the variance and whatnot. So obviously not ideal. And this one drops in the bottom right hand corner. I'm not sure if you can see it, says the elevation. So this one, existing tower around 760. This one 620, 630. So we would need to add like 130 feet to this tower if it were to go right here. And that would be like 270 feet. So as you can see, if we're not kind of up here, it drops off severely. That's kind of a common theme throughout a lot of these other possible candidates down
Have you
here.
gone so far as like have you run any propagation models on any of these sites to look what?
Not yet. That'd be kind of early for that. Like right now, we're just kind of trying to gain interest and get people to sign a business terms agreement, just a non-binding, basically. I don't want to say contract because it's not binding, but basically just lays out the initial lease terms. From there, we submit a skip or site candidate information package to Tillman. And from there, they would run it, talk to their RF engineers, everything, and decide if they want to pursue that candidate or one of the candidates that we do submit. And then from there, we would, that's where kind of we'd go more in depth on propagation stuff and actual design of the facility and eventually take it through zoning if we were to do so.
Right.
And then I think down here, there's some more. Again, like this terrain isn't great. I mean, it's also just Google Earth, so we would have to, so either myself or somebody from Aerosmith would come out and visit the property to just take initial site photos that would be submitted along with that skip. Again, these are kind of smaller, but terrain doesn't seem ideal, but again, we would have to see that in person.
And has there been any discussion at all with American Tower about just redoing a tower on that same spot, or is that? No.
There's not been, as we're basically, and I know it's a stretch, but the project is build a new tower, basically.
Can you put it near this tower? The existing tower?
Yeah, yeah, I actually went on a initial kind of, not a design visit, but just kind of initial site photos with a coworker, and they were going to pursue building a tower right next to an existing one.
Okay.
So, I mean, if Verizon bails from this tower, and let's say AT&T all of a sudden wants to bail from this tower, I mean, what's left on the tower?
I couldn't tell you what current carriers besides Verizon are on that tower.
I mean, if everyone bails on the tower, then the tower can come down in deference to the new tower.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like if you put a new tower even right next to it,
Yeah, I was gonna
then
say-
it's improved, that it is improved height and everything else, that
Yeah.
the existing tower is gonna become
That would
pretty
Absolutely.
non-viable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, I mean, that's your business, more than ours, but, I mean, that strikes me as the path of least resistance.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Is there any
Gotcha.
way you guys can look at that and see?
yeah, I can certainly bring that to my manager, and then we can bring that to Tillman and see what their thoughts are and see what we could do about that.
It's tough not knowing what's on the tower to see,
I think it's in the inventory.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
what I was gonna-
Homeland- in this Homeland thing with a picture of it.
That's what I'm looking for.
okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, I have a picture of it.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
I have a lot of pictures, so.
So that's the Leon Levy Arkin Tower. It is.
I'd have to imagine it also depends upon the lease terms of the other carriers that are on
Yeah.
that site.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
and we've had our own experience with how cooperative
According
American.
to the inventory,
That's my point, like, if ATC owns, which I know ATC owns property, I'd be pretty surprised if they were like, oh yeah, take all of our customers and rip the tower down, that's fine.
so according
I
to the,
just,
inven-
I can't see that would ever happen.
But if they said, we'll put the tower up and move your stuff over,
Yeah, yeah.
then, they're not losing anything. It's win-win for them.
I mean, because plus they own the land, so they would probably get a lease.
Right, well,
Yeah.
no, if Verizon puts up and says you can come, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're not saying all your customers, but move all your antennas over to our tower and we'll lease the
Anyway, so
land from
you
you.
found,
but it's the inventory list shows only AT&T and Verizon.
that's what I thought,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, Chris, Tillman Infrastructure, they're the ones that are gonna own the tower, is that correct?
Yep,
Or
so
they-
they would actually be, we're kind of doing the site act process for Tillman. They would actually be the ones leasing the land, and then from there leasing the space on the tower for the carriers, yeah.
So it wouldn't even be American Tower.
Right,
So you're,
Until they sell it.
until they sell it, right,
Mhm.
yeah,
if they would.
if they would, right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, but that would be certainly, again, back to the path of least resistance.
Right.
So so I guess what are the next steps? I mean, what do you need from, this advisory board, and what is the town? Yeah, the town of Lewisboro.
Gotcha, yeah, so the next steps, again, this is still very early on. I'm sure you guys know how long of a process it is to build a new tower. Right now, I guess the next step would be to get a BTA over to you guys. Like I said, it's not binding, just gives us a way to show Tillman that you are indeed interested instead of just telling them that you're interested. It kind of has the initial lease terms on it, which are negotiable up until the point where if and when you are selected as the Tillman's top candidate. And that is when we would discuss the actual lease and finalize everything. So yeah, that would be the
What did
next
you
step.
call it, Chris, a BTA or ETA?
Yep, just a business terms agreement.
Oh,
Basically
business terms,
just,
got it.
basically just a piece of paper that for your, to get your signature to show Tillman that you are interested.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions?
And so that the business terms agreement, it's not, it's a non-committal agreement and
No.
it's and non-binding, and it's also non-specific to any one parcel at this point. Or will Tillman identify?
Yeah, so ideally we would like to pick any parcel that would work. I do have to submit a BTA for each candidate. We do submit, so each parcel. So let's say there's 2 of these parcels that could potentially work and that you are interested in using those parcels moving forward. I would have to submit a BTA for each one of those. But yeah, it's not binding, just basically kind of has the initial lease terms. I can
I
even
wouldn't
send that.
even, I wouldn't even include the black mansion thing in that, because
That's gonna be
that's
a
a
problematic,
non-starter.
yeah.
Which one? This one right here?
That one right where
That
you're
one.
first.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that's a non-starter,
Well, 4 of the
Yeah,
5 are in
gotcha.
leaving position.
right?
And then I guess we have to, I mean, the whole park,
Is this also parkland down here, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's also part.
yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah, you
And
see
I
all
know
the
like I
trailers?
mean, access to this. I'm not sure, like it kind of looks like this road stops, maybe.
No,
It's
that's
not a road, it's
Driveway.
a driveway.
I might, my parlay
Parcel.
layer could be off
Yeah,
here.
you'd have to back out a little bit. I can't tell. Cause there is Birch
That's
Spring
off
Road.
120.
yeah, so I think that's like, I mean, if that's the case, then I would recommend that you
That's the
find
gorge.
some parcels that you
Yeah.
think would work, so that,
Shall be
you know,
one.
the town is like actually
So the one that,
evaluating real.
the one that you said is wetlands up further north.
not a road.
Yeah, that
The
one.
one on the
Yeah,
corner.
Yeah, the one there in the corner.
Yeah, that one's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
As
that's
far as-
outside.
100 feet lower in elevation though.
Yeah, it is, yeah,
So you're talking
Yeah.
about 250-foot tower versus.
Yeah,
yeah, that's.
Exactly.
Right near the.
That's the difficulty with this site. The well, now this is all parkland and the elevation, which also adds difficulty. And of course,
Are
there's a
there
big
any,
wetlands
I'm
here.
trying to think, are there any other elevated sites in
In
the
that
thing?
area?
Not really, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Um,
kind of drops off severely besides like right here.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if that actually,
I mean, maybe they,
It's very high.
yeah,
but there's spot way in the back too, and that would give them a generator, internet, you know, that's part of the deal.
I mean.
have
it's
you
not
looked at that site?
Across north,
Across 35?
keep going north, I'll tell you when you're warmer. Now, see the driveway goes up right there?
This?
Right up in, hold on.
You're right, you're
Right,
right.
it's outside the circle, but.
Yeah, see the open land right there? And there's
This-
a big, right there, yep, in the
Yep, so-
back there. Like back in there, right.
Yep, exactly. We are
That's high
actually,
up. That's really high
I have
up.
a BTA out to them currently.
Okay, okay.
Yep,
so
this
they
wedding venue.
said yes, they would consider.
Yep, exactly. We're kind of discussing initial rent
Okay.
at the
Right.
moment.
Okay, good.
Is there any other private properties that you're looking at that you can
This,
talk about?
yeah, we were, but I have struggled to get a hold of a lot of them, like
Okay,
Michael here,
okay.
Arthur, I haven't got a hold of them. Left a lot of voicemails to them. Patrick here was not interested in his parcel. Like, I think my layer was slightly off of this one, and it actually his property doesn't actually cover this whole area. It like apparently cuts off right in the middle there. So, and if I turn the or if the wetland layer would actually work. Yeah, like I suggested doing some right here, but he was not too interested, so I had to take him off the list.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we could peruse the town property map and see if there's anything in that.
Yeah, that-
Exactly.
That whole area that you're in right now, that's also part of the park. I don't know why it says
Gotcha.
Patrick Crowe.
So getting back,
Crowe doesn't know that.
yeah, getting back to that, the wetlands property. So the issue there is that it would have to be like a 250-foot tower, I think you said, right?
Yeah, let me just, yeah, probably around 270.
So-
270.
Wow.
But that's,
Yeah,
but in the grand scheme of things, yeah, it's gonna be tall.
We don't have a single
Yeah.
250-foot
Yeah,
tower in this
That's my
town.
point.
Is there any residents? Is
There-
there any residents?
there really isn't.
Yeah, there are a couple, Martha
Well,
Handler owns the property there. on
across the
corner of
street?
35 and 123
Yeah,
there.
Peaceable.
Yes, right there.
Properties
Yeah,
on Peaceable.
Yeah, okay.
The properties in Connecticut.
All right, so I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like we're in early days here, but, and that gives us some idea of what this is all about. So appreciate that, Christopher, for
of
dropping in.
course. Yeah, and I mean, it's possible, I'll just say this, I mean, it's fairly close to the ring, but Tillman and RF engineers don't ideally like to be in the ring, so it's possible. If you guys are willing to move forward with the BTA and we submit this, that they come back and say like, no, this isn't gonna work. So that's very possible as well.
Okay. All right, so I guess we'll, next steps, we're gonna wait to hear back from you.
Gotcha. So, should I set up a BTA for just this property? It kind of seems like that would be the only one that could possibly work, right?
Oh, yeah, it's hard to know from this,
Well,
Or
You're gonna find out, AT, right?
sorry, what was that?
Town owned property.
American Tower.
Oh, yep.
No, right, well, who owns that other tower? American Tower.
American Tower,
Right, and they own the property too,
correct.
Yeah,
so,
maybe they're looking to sell it.
right, exactly, it's probably not, but,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But if
I will
Verizon's gonna
certainly
bail,
look
at
into
least
that.
one person on there.
Yeah,
What about the property right next to it, outside that little line? Like,
That's the one I
inches
was
out.
questioning. I don't,
oh,
If
no,
you
right
guys
next to
could
the square where the other tower is,
which,
the southwest corner right there of that square that American Tower owns.
Southwest is gonna be lower in elevation, you're gonna wanna go off north.
that's,
Okay,
Yeah,
isn't
you'd
that
go
still
north of
Leon
it.
Levy?
right.
You'd wanna go north of it, that's higher in elevation.
yeah, it kind of plateaus like right.
But my point is that just grab one of those corners right next to theirs,
Mm-hmm.
But it's still Leon Levy, right?
right?
So we can't.
because they're
I guess
sort of,
it-
they sort of grandfather themselves in.
If
because
there are
there's
deed
trees.
restrictions, I'm not familiar with the
I don't
deed
know whether-
restrictions, so,
I mean, it probably is because Westchester County put in money and
right,
town put in money.
right.
So there's probably a lot of, I mean, I have no idea.
So that's something we need to check, right? So we need to check, I could check with our assessor. She usually knows all this stuff and has the documentation. So we can't rule out any Leon Levy locations at this point,
Without no
Without
concepts
knowing. Yeah.
attached to it.
right?
But also too, we don't wanna wreck the park.
No,
So
no,
would
right.
It'd have to be something that was,
But if it's something in the general vicinity of the
Right.
existing tower,
that's what I was thinking,
right,
something that's close by,
right.
you know.
I
Yeah.
will add, it is a park. I'm not sure if that is that totally out of the picture?
No, so we need to confirm that for sure.
Gotcha.
whether it
And
is-
there's, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of like the stealthing technologies there are, and obviously would tend to stay away, or Tillman likes to kind of stay away from doing like the monopines and the ones that look like trees, but in this project or in this batch of sites that we got, they're kind of really pushing for candidates and really pushing to get a tower built. So that is certainly a possibility that we could implement some of that stealth technology here.
So what about, one of the things that we've been talking about is citing emergency communications equipment? Is that something that would be potentially on the table to put on this new tower that would get built?
Yeah, absolutely. I have another site in like Plymouth, Massachusetts area, and unfortunately, because of the size of the parcel or wetlands and stuff, we couldn't build a tower there. But the town was interested in actually putting emergency equipment on the tower, and that was discussed with
Okay.
Tillman, and they were on board with that.
Good to know.
But not just putting it on, having you guys pay. for
Well,
it. No,
Well,
that
yeah,
that
there would be,
part of it.
obviously,
in the-
that would be
absolutely.
yeah,
discussed.
in the fullest sense of putting it on, I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so this is helpful. Good clarification. Christopher, appreciate it. Thanks for dropping by again.
yeah, of course.
All right, thank you, Chris. We'll be in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Permissions. So, yeah, any comment from the room here before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think, we should ask, we can present to our assessor, Lisa Robertson. I can give her the list of properties that he sent to me that we just viewed.
Mhm.
I have that list on email, with the map, the block numbers, map and block numbers, so I can give that to Lisa Robertson and have her confirm that, if there are any lease restrictions, or deed restrictions, I should say, on the Leon Levy Preserve that would prevent us from doing this.
That's the first step, and the second step would actually be to walk up and see where they're talking about. Is it right in the middle of a trail? Is it really gonna be one of those things? Or is it gonna be so far out of the way you won't see it?
Right,
Two of the sites are near the gorge, which is actually, there's an overlook, there's a bench, and you know, one of the.
Move that bench 5 feet over.
The more
So,
ruin the view of it, yeah,
One was at the park entrance, right near the trailhead,
yeah,
and then.
For the parking lot?
Yeah, right there,
Parking
parking
lot,
lot, so it
yeah.
was very low, I was surprised.
yeah.
So really, all the spots, I know exactly where they are in the park, and they're
Yeah.
not.
Not good. So it's gonna be the mud pit across the street.
So that sounds
Yeah,
like good.
yeah, that's where the.
If we're willing to accept.
Right. What is that? Oh, that was that was, or there used to be power to it, there isn't anymore.
It's a well,
Okay.
there used to be the well for the.
Right, right.
For Le Chateau, really?
Yeah,
Ah,
that's
okay.
what-
Before it was Le Chateau, or before it
That's
was
what
No,
Lorraine
right.
told
when
me.
JP Morgan used to.
Yeah,
live there? Okay.
long, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think it probably got replaced
Mhm.
decades
Yeah.
ago.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
move on to, the next item, I'm gonna ask Sam to provide, an update with, what he can share, regarding, the South Salem Church, location as an alternate to the Salt Dome. And review the minutes, he said 5 to 6 weeks, and I have not heard anything back, officially from them. Maybe it's taking longer than he anticipated, but
Right.
you've got
I
a
have
few
it.
updates.
Right.
Okay, Sam.
So the engineers came out again, and they wanted to see if the cinder block was reinforced, so we did a couple of test holes, and the corners of the box are reinforced, but the centers aren't, and where the doors aren't reinforced, so they're gonna have to take those out and put new doors in that are reinforced. They said that is definitely not a stopping deal,
Okay,
because if you think about it, if putting up a whole cell tower is still less expensive than them shoring up the steeple. So.
okay,
So that's what
Okay.
they said, they're doing more drawings, somebody, I don't know if you guys saw some of the drawings, so. I spoke with the engineer, he
Mhm.
said they're definitely on track.
Now, this is an
I spoke with-
engineer that's working for Homeland?
Yes.
Or for one of the carriers?
No, for Homeland,
For Homeland, got it.
Homeland,
Okay.
right, and I spoke with via email, the other fellow. From Homeland that said, no, we're still good, not with any detail, because
Mhm.
no, we're moving forward with this.
Okay.
Looks like a viable, certainly a viable thing. There's another caveat to this,
Mhm.
and that is, the South Salem Presbyterian Church doesn't own this building. It's owned by the Presbytery. And the Presbytery, by the way, has a group that deals specifically with cell phone carriers.
Hmm.
So they are all for it,
Okay,
but they would come in and negotiate our deal for us because they have the experience. of
so who has
doing
the
that.
final say? Is it this?
The
group,
Presbytery.
Okay,
Well,
not
that's
the
final
local.
say. The elders, if they decide to move forward with it,
Mhm.
will push it to the Presbytery, but it starts with the elders. If
Got
they
it,
Get past
okay.
the elders, then
Yeah.
it won't get the Presbytery.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So that's it for here.
So I
So,
imagine, if it wasn't viable, they would stop at this point, because it's
Right.
costing them money.
Do we have
Right.
a timeline as to when we expect to hear back from them again?
Nope,
Okay,
Okay,
nope, but, I will bug them before, like,
Mhm.
in 2 weeks,
okay.
which will give them another 2 weeks before we meet again.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So.
Okay.
we meet on a-
Yeah, so I'll ping Manny again and, at
Yeah.
Homeland Towers and see if they have, any update they can share, and,
Here.
yeah, I don't know if it makes sense to go to the carriers directly, but
Right.
they sort of delegated to Homeland, so let's hear what Homeland said at this point.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually quote what the guy said. Yes, we are moving ahead. The CMU walls need to be reinforced, but as of now, we are okay with having to do that. Check back in another week or two. Or Ray and I will. And that
Okay.
was on May 10th.
Okay.
So we're still, that
Okay.
2 weeks is still right.
Yeah.
And I guess the other piece of that was, the process, because it's not on town property, it's gotta go through a more
Go through
involved
more- yeah.
process. Have we got any more indication on that front?
Well, no, it's basically once it's decided, it's got a good application has to go to
Okay.
the planning board.
Mhm.
And then, there probably needs to be, the secra involved and,
Okay,
the state environmental quality review.
okay,
Packard would do.
PACCAR, yeah, but I think it starts with the planning board.
okay.
So we can't go through that Monroe balancing test, which is what we did with the
Yeah,
Crossroad Tower.
yeah,
which if we meet the criteria, you know, the town becomes the
Lead agency.
agency, right? Yeah.
But as far as we know, Homeland Towers attorneys haven't reached out to anybody at the town to.
Not at this point.
Okay.
I think they have to get a commitment first from,
Okay.
you
Well, we
know,
need-
an engineering commitment, right? That it's gonna work and then a
We need
commitment from the
drawings,
others.
we
Yeah,
need all this stuff.
right.
So we're just waiting on them.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So,
Because if I recall, there's like sort of two factors. One, got to be viable from a engineering and
Right.
architectural standpoint.
Right.
And then two, they've got to be confident that the process isn't going to take 2 years or whatever.
so that's the other
Yeah,
thing. I said, if it gets found in planning board, you know, then they'll. just-
Not likely.
Then they'll go back and
Right.
salt them just from a process standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if the planning board doesn't approve it, if they say it's gonna be 2 years for this, what would make the planning board, the planning board wouldn't have to look at it for the salt dome?
So the town board would ask the planning board for an opinion, you know, and that's what we do with the cross river tower.
Right.
LVAC. And they do give us an opinion of what they think of the site and
Mhm.
the
Okay,
other issues and
right.
then it's up to the town board to.
So I guess the point is, if they're dragging their feet on the church, if they don't drag their feet on the salt dome, I mean, I guess we'd have to
That's not,
see.
no.
They wouldn't.
It's town owned.
They wouldn't.
Right.
Get out of planning board, basically get superseded by the town board.
Right,
Correct, and the
right.
town board, as a courtesy, we go to the planning
Sure,
board to
right.
get their opinion
Right,
and,
right.
you know. And we.
But at some point, you can make a decision without their.
If they're taking 2 months to get back to us, then we can say, okay, we don't need your opinion, but but
Okay.
usually they're very responsive, so,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, all right, so let's see, what comes of it over the next few weeks and
Right.
move from there.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
So, next topic is I think we should spend a little time on the cityscape wireless study project, just because it's the comment deadline. Has anyone taken a review of it?
I have not, I meant to do it today and just wasn't able to, but I did respond back to Susan Raybold. to
Yeah.
Say that we would have feedback to her this evening, so.
Of course, my.
So I will definitely review it later after
That
we're
is
done
not
here.
working.
Joseph,
can't
I'm a
share
good
it.
student. I've read the whole thing.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Oh,
And
Lynn, good work.
feedback, Lynn?
Yeah, I actually thought it was really, really helpful. And so there's the main section, there's a special section that applies just to Lewisboro. So it's good to look at both of those things. But Tony, I was even thinking like some of the explanations in there for your colleagues on the town board. It would be really helpful for them to review just even some of the initial stuff that's in the report, because I think it just gives a level of background understanding that'll help them as these decisions on particular towers start to come up as well. And just, the kind of language that they can use when they're talking about these things. So I thought it was good. One of the recommendations they have are some code changes for us. So they recommended that for a lot of jurisdictions. So that's, again, something maybe this group can look at some point.
yeah, no, and I was asking Tony about that earlier, because they do reference, I was trying to find it, but they reference the section of the code that would need to be changed, and then they say something to the effect that there's changes in process, and we're not aware of any of those changes, but maybe someone is, I don't know. But I thought that was interesting. But thanks for reading that, Liz.
Yeah, I think maybe what they were talking about was the sections of the code probably predate like all the shot clock regulation and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there's some areas where we could just bring in what's the case for us already, because there's a lot of stuff that we're bound by under that regulation, but actually just having that specifically in the code in terms of timelines and stuff. I think that was part of what they were referring to. And then there's some stuff around setbacks and stuff in there that maybe pertains to the Presbyterian Church proposed site that, we could have a look at as well, I think was one of the other things that I saw in there in terms of recommendations. So.
Terrific. Okay. Thanks, Lynn. And is there something that we should submit to Susan at Cityscape on the AAB's behalf that you could send across to her, or are these just things that you picked up that we don't need to comment on?
Yeah, I mean, I think we would send a comment if there was something we thought was inaccurate or, something like that. But I didn't really see anything like that in the document. I thought it was really helpful, tied in with everything that we've discussed and said so far. So no big surprises in there in terms of the information. And so happy to send a note saying that, we've reviewed it and thank you for the work, but I don't think we need to make any specific comment from my read anyway. You guys have been involved with this process for a lot longer than me, so maybe you guys would pick up on something, but for me, there weren't any big surprises in there, but it was really helpful to see it all laid out.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and I just got my document up. I mean, the only thing that I found that was seemed inaccurate. There's a picture on page C11 in the appendix where they have a picture of a tower at site L5, which is I believe the proposed salt dome site, which really doesn't have a tower to have a picture of. So I think they've got that mislabeled, but maybe they've caught that already.
Perfect.
But I think the other thing for town residents the town board, of course, but also town residents to sort of go through the maps, because not only they outline the macro site recommendations, but also some smaller tower site locations with the propagation maps, which I don't remember seeing that in the earlier presentations that Cityscape delivered.
Yeah, no, I thought that was all quite useful stuff, because I think one of the questions that we would get quite often is, well, you're building a tower over here, but what about this spot here or this spot there? So I think being able to talk about the fact that they have a longer term view on where additional sites would need to go. And even I think the maps themselves are very helpful in explaining to people where the current gaps are and what different proposed sites would be able to do for the town. To talk about that is one thing, but to be able to present that visually to people, I think is quite helpful too. So I think there's material in there that we might be able to use as part of our communications, either in giving advice to the town board or just, between ourselves and the town board communicating what's happening more broadly to the community.
I agree. Perfect. Thanks, Lynn.
So how do you want to get back to Susan? Should we, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I'll take a look at it tonight and I'll review it.
I mean, do you want to officially respond as supervisor to her, and Lynn can forward whatever thoughts she has to you?
If anyone has input for
or anyone, anyone on the board for that matter. Does that work for you, Lynn?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Yeah. And in this way, I'll get it to her
tonight at 11:59
or the 12th. Yeah, no.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I mean, a good report, and I think recommended reading for.
It's only 72 pages
for everyone. Well, yeah, there's a lot of filler, but I mean, even yeah, I mean, but even as Lynn pointed out, there's some good descriptions of the terminology, and for people who are not familiar with that, it's a good
right.
Cellular Technology 101 course.
And I could have this posted on our website as well, and then.
Yeah, I think so. We were going to do it. I didn't double check whether we actually did, but I think
it's not this version.
Not this version.
I think there might be a prior.
Okay.
Show survey results and.
Because I was thinking about that when I was doing the minutes. Like, did we send that to Jen to post? Right. Maybe we didn't. Okay. So we can do that, but the final one's probably going to be.
So I'll wait for emails up until 11:45.
Okay.
Probably sound asleep.
The ever working supervisor of town Lewisboro. Okay, so next topic. Any updates on the emergency services? Because I think this is a big topic that we want to just stay on top of from last time. Probably.
Yes, it is. So we got some initial pricing back from Motorola. The pricing that they give initially is not state contract pricing. And the reason that they do that is because they overshoot it intentionally, so that if unforeseen costs are incurred, that's more of a budgetary number than it is actual project cost. So if the town ends up being interested at XY price, whatever, then they say, okay, now we apply state contract, we apply the discounts, make it look a little bit more attractive. And then it's a much more digestible.
Yeah, but the problem I see with that is that from our procurement process perspective, we need to look at
The actual number.
the actual number.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're gonna be high to begin with, and then we have someone else who's giving us the state contract price.
Right. So. Yeah, that's their process. I can certainly go back to them and see if they can get a closer number. The
Mhm.
number that they gave is 1.4 million for the infrastructure side of it.
Mhm.
So that's not including the subscriber units, but as we were talking about in the last meeting, the way Bedford was doing it was replacing all the units in the field first, like the subscriber
Mhm.
units, the individual
Mhm.
radios. And then bonding out or potentially bonding out if Bedford goes with their system, whatever, in a perfect world. The infrastructure after the fact. So replacing budgeting, in the next few years to replace the individual radios.
Yeah,
And then at the end of the project, once everybody has all the new equipment in their vehicles, et cetera, and
Yeah.
the base stations, stuff like that, then replace the actual infrastructure for the system. Because that's gonna take more time than purchasing and installing all the radios in everybody's vehicles. So you can kind of,
Yeah.
kill two birds with one stone, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
Budget forward
Mhm.
for the subscriber units, and then at the same time, show interest in, and then move forward towards developing the actual infrastructure part of the project, which would be in some ways completely separate from the radios that actually get installed in the vehicles.
okay.
Have you looked at any grants available?
No, this is just specifically through Motorola for right now. So, that being the case, the state contract pricing is gonna take it down by about 20 to 25%. So it's still looking at something somewhere around the 1 million mark, maybe even a little less than that
Mhm.
in real life pricing.
Yeah,
But then again, of course, like I said, you bring in the subscriber units, and if you're looking at like a total 3,
Mhm,
5,
mhm.
whatever, 5-year project, 3-year project cost, it's still probably gonna be around 1.4. But
Right.
that's the infrastructure cost versus the actual subscriber unit. So if you
Mhm.
want to separate it out, that's fine. That makes sense. To do
Right.
it as kind of two different things and budget for it over time.
okay.
But like I said, that's kind of how it sounds like Bedford is doing it, if they end up going with this replacement project
Right.
on their end.
Does that mean, Brian, you got enough information from the tower operator owners to make these estimates or not yet?
Well, I mean, installation to a degree is without getting into like actually negotiating contracts and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Installation is like kind of man hours and parts.
Small piece of the.
So it's gonna be a server rack, it's gonna be, XYZ parts,
Mhm.
and it's gonna take 8 hours, 12, whatever for 4 people. So they can kind of crunch those numbers in like a proposal sense
Okay,
Right.
You're gonna have to screen.
ahead of time.
All this other
So
stuff.
Yeah.
it depends on the site, but yeah. So a lot of that sort of stuff can be estimated upfront.
Mhm.
Where and the reason they put this out front is because if, the town comes back or, the advisory board comes back or whoever the entity comes back and says, yeah, 1.4 is like, we're nowhere near that. We're at 500. You know what I mean? Then they're like, okay, well, we can't go any further with the tower sites because
And they need
We're
the
spinning
tower
the wheels.
for their system to work. We need the tower sites. We need equipment on the towers.
and does it still need to be line of sight between the towers?
it is not line of sight between the towers.
Okay.
This is the only type of advanced radio system that will get the coverage that we want that avoids the line of sight issue,
Okay,
which is where the expense comes from.
I would recommend calling Chris Burdick. Okay, and saying, look, can you find some money for us to do this? Take the biggest number that you can come up and make sure, because you want to come in ultimately under it.
Right.
That's why they give that one.
Right, I was able to get from the New York State Dormitory Authority, a good chunk of change to replace all our radios in
Mhm.
Pound Ridge, so
Right.
it'd be worthy just being,
Yeah,
David Buckwald did that for us.
right.
And now Chris Burdick's in his position, so
Yeah.
if someone gave Chris a call, maybe he would have a connection up there to.
Absolutely.
I'll be on call with him on Friday, so I could, actually, I'm gonna be with him at a meeting or on Friday and then the call later, but I can.
Grant funding and the dormitory services grants are great.
huge.
They're really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could
Right,
certainly
so-
eat a huge chunk of even just, if we're not gonna push forward immediately on the infrastructure part of it.
Right,
We can use that towards replacing the subscriber units and then lowering the overall cost of the
Right.
project.
right.
But you know, last time that those are end of life, so they kind of.
The existing ones, yeah, I mean, they're functioning with like 20-plus-year-old equipment, which regardless of the infrastructure being replaced, that stuff needs to be replaced
Mhm.
anyway.
exactly. Yeah,
So-
yeah, yep, okay. And just so everyone knows, I did meet, like I said earlier, when we were first gathering here, that I did speak to L3 Harris, which is the other vendor. The MTA uses their equipment. In fact, at the meeting, there was an MTA rep
Okay,
who spoke to us. And this was it was a meeting set up by the chief, the police chief.
uh-huh,
So we had that meeting last week at headquarters.
okay,
So they have, and that's why I asked about the tower, because they don't require equipment. They said currently, based on the last time they checked, the town of Lewisboro would have 95% coverage with their system.
Mobile. Not portable.
What do you mean by that?
That's
Radio.
50-watt radio instead of a.
Mobile is in a vehicle.
3-watt radio.
Portable radio is
Handle.
by carry. So if the
Right.
police, like, there was a similar incident not long ago where the police were on a call with a violent subject
Yes, and they
and
couldn't,
couldn't reach via portable. So it's still a safety issue that we have portable coverage.
right,
The town of Bedford is trialing the MTA system. I spoke to some of their police officers. One of the issues they're having with the MTA system is while they're not against using Motorola, they don't want to put Motorola equipment on their system. It may be compatible in some regards in enough of a sense for them to be able to use their infrastructure,
right,
but they don't support Motorola equipment on it. If the state goes to, so Bedford's dispatched themselves, so they can use whatever equipment they want. Lewisboro is dispatched by the state. So if the state ends up going with Motorola, which is what it sounds like they're doing, and we buy all Harris equipment, then that could create a compatibility issue between now our police department and the state is who are our primary dispatchers.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Harris is, the MTA system is good. And there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of good things to be had with that system. I don't think it's necessarily compatible with state police. And I
Right.
think it creates a problem of forward compatibility as
So I
well.
think we'll have to sit down and review pluses and minuses of each. I mean, I know one of the benefits from this meeting that I understood was the ability to communicate over with Connecticut, like Ridgefield, Wilton.
Which our system will have as well.
Okay, yeah, because I know that's an issue today.
Yes, and that's incorporated in the subscriber unit. So I don't know if you saw the quote that was given to,
I did.
David
I
Alfano.
did, Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
so that includes for PD
Mhm.
without our infrastructure, just their subscriber units, that gives them the capacity to communicate into Connecticut and
Right,
with various other agencies.
Okay,
and that would also have the capability to, in the future, create a different channel for PD, for fire.
Yeah, PD would have its own channel and then the rest of the town would have another channel. So
Okay.
highway, FD and EMS would be on one. And
And what
PD
if-
would be on their own.
They're
What if-
VHF.
one of the objectives is to be able to have this interagency connectivity, right, which I think is lacking as well
Correct,
today.
correct.
So, yeah,
Okay,
that's what we're looking to solve, yeah.
Does Richfield use a trunking system? So now, state police, when will we know they're actually going to Motorola, or is this pretty much done?
I don't know that it's pretty much done, but I know that they're unhappy with Harris.
Mhm.
So, the likelihood that they would go back to Harris is slim.
Mhm.
There's no definitive anything, and that's part of the problem with state police is that even their own people, they don't give any sort of definitive direction to.
Mhm.
So, I think the consensus is, especially because Westchester County is all Motorola and the likelihood that the state is going to Motorola is high,
Mhm.
that Lewisboro PD wanted Motorola as their subscriber units.
What, do you know what Richfield uses?
Motorola,
They are, okay,
Ridgefield, Wilton, New Canaan,
Stanford.
Stanford, all Motorola.
and Bedford sounds like likely as well.
Bedford likely to be Motorola, the county Motorola,
Is Richfield a state system?
negative.
Okay,
No,
just
they are on their own.
Stanford is.
And Ridgefield did a similar thing where they bonded out a system and had it, and they're actually, their system architecture would be very similar to like what we're looking at doing. So that would kind of be actually ironically enough, a comparable project to look at what they did in the past. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was around like 1.4 million. If I don't.
So,
So it sounds like we made some progress, and maybe need some coordination with PD on.
yeah, But before, so George Latimer, our county executive, is on the call, and before
Oh,
he
that's
actually, I know he's gonna drop off, so, and maybe George, if you want to say a few words.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to say I was listening, obviously, a lot of issues that have already, reached some maturity, but the county in general is looking forward to working with you. So Tony has my phone number. If there's anything specific that I can follow up on from a county perspective, we're happy to do it. And, that's why I get on and try to learn something and see how we can work together.
Well, appreciate that very much. Hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah, thank you very much, George, for tuning in, and we'll certainly be in touch.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
There's very few committees that have an antenna committee like you do, so that's helpful.
Yes.
You're
yes.
welcome back anytime. So,
Thanks
so I
much,
guess
guys.
before we leave,
Thank
before
you.
we leave this topic, just a point of public disclosure. It's in the minutes, but Brian disclosed to us following the last meeting that he's taken a part-time job with Metrocom, which I guess is the
Reseller?
reseller
Yes.
of equipment,
So
including
he has to.
Motorola. And so we've agreed as a board that we continue to value Brian's expertise in this emergency communications area, among other things. And we've agreed that if it ever comes up, which is not really the purview of this advisory board to make recommendations on equipment or purchase equipment, but if anything close to that ever comes up, that Brian would recuse himself. So just wanted to make a public announcement to that effect. Okay.
Excellent.
Any other comments on emergency services?
No,
Topic?
it would just be trying to, see what the feeling is on that number is really kind of it, and then see what if there is a.
Well, you sort of
There's an
telegraphed
appetite.
it last time that
Yeah, it was gonna be
it
more
was not maybe this $10,000 to $30,000 number.
No.
Yeah, no, that's not
I need
possible
that
with
one.
our system. So if
So what range are they gonna go with? You're doing the 8,000s?
for PD, yes,
But that should be also, what about for fire and EMS? They'd be on the 8,000, right?
they wouldn't have to be because our only concern within the town is intra agency.
Okay.
So if we're all the same in the town, that's fine. The issue with PD is that they're interagency.
I hear
So
you.
they need 8,000s to get out where we already have all that equipment that, we can already communicate with other fire departments
Right.
outside of our area.
So you would carry two radios.
Could be, or.
But you can integrate it into an 8,000 and talk on two different things.
Yeah, but then you're coming off a 60 controls channel, which we don't want to do.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a portable radio. We'd
Right.
start with mobiles would be my push to the departments.
Right.
And they don't have to be 8,000s, and that's gonna severely limit the cost, which EMS and fire is gonna have a harder time with.
Well, it sounds like from your meeting, like some coordination
let's
with
talk offline. I just have
Tony
some
should be.
Yeah, once
I mean,
we,
with the-
once we
with
get the
the-
feedback from
yeah.
Harris and, we can then compare notes and.
Yeah.
And obviously I want to get the chief involved in the conversation as well. And we'll take it from there. Joe Fazetas was in that meeting as well from Highway, so we would need to get him.
Yeah,
on the
okay.
same- Yeah. Same
Good.
meeting, so.
So we're getting close to time. Before we move to public comment, any thoughts on the Optimum rollout? We haven't got an official update
Yes,
from them.
so I'm
but-
waiting. I reached out to Frank Oliva. We were initially, I was hoping for them to do a presentation at the May 22nd town board meeting.
Okay,
next
excellent,
Monday.
yeah.
But he said he would go back internally and discuss with management to see if we
Okay.
can do something on the 22nd, but if not,
Oh, that'd be
it'll probably
great.
be June.
Okay,
So at this point, since the 22nd is Monday, I doubt it's gonna happen.
yeah,
So it'll probably be like one of the June meetings, probably the second June meeting, because the first June
Okay.
meeting is gonna be a work session on another topic, so. So I'm gonna be pushing for that, just to get a general update as to where we are.
Yeah.
They've been rolling out fiber all
yeah,
over
we've all
town.
seen it.
So hopefully, that's, and they've actually escalated the schedule a bit, so hopefully they'll be able to bring in the actual rollout to like neighborhoods. And of
excellent.
course, individual
Excellent.
homes, so.
Because I think he shared that last time that there was a DOT
Yeah, the
process
permitting-
that they felt like they had reached
right
the
to void. Yeah,
resolution
exactly.
to expedite it,
Yep,
and
yep.
just by the evidence of them rolling out fiber, it feels like
Right.
they managed to do that.
Right.
So Q3 was, I think, what he said.
I think
and,
it was Q3 is when they would, I forget exactly whether that was when they would have it the bulk,
Yeah,
level
But I
stuff
mean,
rolled out.
I think you said Q3 is when they would start
They would
producing
start,
it.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
that's when it would start, so they have a.
So you
obviously
might be able to start
sooner.
signing up as soon as Q3, which, I'll believe it when I see it.
Me too.
But, I mean, that would be huge.
And
So
in
let's
terms
keep
of,
that going. Yeah.
issues, it's, I'm not getting as many calls. I mean, over the last month, I think I had two.
Oh, sort of,
I read
and Sam,
residents.
you're designated person there.
And usually this,
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
and that's my barometer, right?
That's okay.
Well, the
The
problem
church
is
is
you
good.
try to run
Okay.
a business and you gotta, anyway.
Yeah, but
It's fine.
everything's good, it's been
Yeah,
stable?
everything's
Okay,
great.
good.
That's good.
Yeah, so we keep,
All right, so,
Yeah.
that physical evidence shows that there's progress being made, and we'll hope to get some official word
Right.
from,
right.
from Optimum.
I mean, it would be nice to have competition, so like we have in Golden's Bridge, fortunately. With Verizon Fios.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
Verizon's not
speaking of that,
interested in-
sorry, Tony, but
That's right.
this Westchester County webinar or whatever
Oh,
that you
yeah,
attended, was
that's
there
right.
anything with that?
The bottom line for that, and is that there's very little, they're interested in gaps. Gaps in
Okay,
coverage. And
okay.
we have, the only gaps are people who don't elect to get the service.
Right.
Yeah, so we're pretty much well wired.
Okay.
We-
So we're not likely to get money
No.
from,
There's
okay,
like 7 houses here and 3 houses, and I think it's just bad data. I
okay,
can't imagine someone doesn't have.
Right,
internet
But
service.
there's also people who chose, there are a few that chose not to have it.
Right,
Like,
Yeah.
not many, like, I think in the whole town, 3,
yeah.
something
Amazing.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
The coverage is.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Optimum
Mhm.
or Files, but if it's Optimum, if it's like mine, it's spotty,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I hope the news is better,
story.
faster
Exactly,
internet is
yeah.
coming.
Right.
And we'll keep on them.
Yeah, we'll keep the pressure on,
And
absolutely.
if
Yeah.
there's any windows for competition, which, most likely is gonna come Verizon beaming 5G to the home or whatever they're calling
Right.
it.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
so I guess I'll move, before we get to polling the board, I'll move for public comment, open for public comment.
Second.
Any
All in favor?
all in favor? So anybody, we don't have anybody in person here at the famous mead room
Right,
at the Presbyterian Church, but if there's anyone on Zoom who has public comment, raise your hand.
I think there's only one.
I'm seeing just us.
No, I see, Elena.
Oh, Elena's on, yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there's no public comment. Okay, move to close public comment.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor? Okay, so any polling the board, who wants to go first? I guess you're a host, so I'll let you go first.
What am I supposed to say?
Well, I mean, is there any
No.
closing comments you have?
Thank you guys for coming out.
Well, thanks for having us.
Boy, I tell you, I know it's a lot of work, Brian. There's a lot of moving parts when you're talking about infrastructure and all this, We don't have to worry about the cell tower people because they handle all that, but this
Right.
stuff, there's no, you gotta speak from experience when you're looking at this, otherwise you end up with, that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
So thank you, Brian, for your expertise.
And yeah, Rob, I was on that meeting with you, and when they showed the coverage, there's no issue with the coverage,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Tony, you're gonna reach out to Chris too about.
Yes, I'll speak to
The,
Chris. Absolutely.
Right, because that's a big deal, because the dormitory authority has been very good.
I guess we have to find a grant writing.
Chris, David wrote our grant for us.
Okay,
Joseph did, I know
Well,
you're not
these-
listening, but he was amazing.
Yeah.
Sam
Chris-
grants?
This
The
is not-
state aid.
I don't-
Municipal, state aid. to
That's what goes to the
municipalities.
dormitory service.
That's
Is
DASNY.
that what?
Yeah.
Yes, Daphne.
DASNY.
Yeah.
Because I'm dealing with them now. We're working on reimbursements for some of the
Okay.
STEM grants that
Yes.
we have
Yeah,
been awarded.
Right.
So this week was reimbursement week. Let's get that money.
Okay.
To reimburse for there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through.
Oh, it's a process.
So,
It
right,
is
there's
a
like 4
process,
from
yeah.
exhibit E and.
Yes.
That's
Exhibit A,
amazing.
correct.
I know, yeah.
these grant writing things are,
So,
part art and part just
Right.
able to
Right.
to wade through the form.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Provide all
And they have
that.
options, like
Yeah.
if you're gonna get an invoice, like we did this with the town park playground, it was a pretty large invoice for the playground equipment.
Mhm.
We said to one of the options within the the grant agreement is that you can, if the vendor is willing to wait, they will.
Pay direct,
No, they will front you the money, give you the
Right.
money,
yes,
so you can pay the invoice.
that's what we
And
did
then
at
once
the
you pay
fire
the invoice,
department,
you gotta send them proof that you paid,
Yes.
so, yeah.
before you submit your next request.
Correct,
Right.
and I actually, yeah, not to get into it, but I missed the deadline to get the proof of, and they had to remind me, because they got
Yeah.
buried in my email.
But
they were very good.
They
They were
have
very-
to put in some tripwires because if they make it
Yeah,
too easy.
exactly,
Yeah.
and they're very good, Daz is very good at sending me, reminder
That's good.
emails, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Tony, anything further from you?
No, I think we're good. I'll follow up with Altice on getting that presentation.
Okay.
On FTTH. and,
Yeah.
Yeah, take it from there, but.
And
good
thanks
meeting.
for getting the comments to Susan at a late hour. but-
Yeah, I'll read
And it looks like Lynn is off, but Lynn, thank you for the rundown on the cityscape,
Yep.
if you're listening.
Yeah.
uh-oh,
Take a request.
Rob?
Pass.
Okay.
yeah.
I have
Brian?
nothing.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, great.
Did we
Thanks
just-
again
Go grab the
for
tanker.
hosting us here.
Yeah.
And
Again, that's the second time.
thanks everyone for tuning in. I will officially adjourn us at 8:11 PM.
Very good.
Excellent. All right, good night, everyone.